So who are they?
I hate Pflügl stage, that's why I drive.
There are people who find many reasons why something can't be done. Here, there are people who find solutions and make it possible.
Tarragona, Vienna. Tarragona, Montpellier, Vienna. Genève, and Vienna was Vienna.
I'm happy to be part of this faculty. Let's keep chemistry a hot topic.
Perfect. So, who's going to start? Marie-Cruz, how about you? You also came from abroad. How was it for you to embark on this ship?
Yeah, I'm happy to share. I can relate a little bit to your feeling of happiness, for sure, and also for being very welcome here. But maybe for you was coming home. But for me, it was a bit different. At the first moment, when I got the offer, I was very happy, but then soon I started to be a bit anxious and a bit nervous about whether to come here or not. I didn't know Wien. I was already abroad. I'm from Spain, and I was already 12 years in Germany. So when I moved there, it was a decision I took by myself. And now it was something I have to decide to come here, a decision for 4 people with my family. So it was, yeah, a mixed feelings, but I have no regrets. And it was also very helpful when the time came to negotiate the position, that the TU Wien was making very easy. You know, it's an important decision. You have to have many different aspects into account, and it made very easy as a family to move here. It was really helpful. And yeah, in general, I would like to add, I never thought I would become a professor, honestly. I really like science, and I like the job, and I thought I would do it as long as I can get a job doing this. But I was convinced that eventually I would have to leave academia. I was not sure when this would happen, but I was certain, because you look around and you don't see many female professors. I thought it's going to happen sooner or later, and maybe when I have my children. But it didn't happen. I made it, and I have 2 kids. I'm a professor. I'm very happy about that. Unfortunately, I don't have a secret recipe. For me, when the time came to have children, I was a group leader in TU Munich. And I was supervising 3 or 4 projects. As far as I know, I don't know now, but at the time, the university didn't really have any support or orientation for people in my situation. But when I got pregnant, I was lucky enough that my boss at the time told me, you will be needed. We want you back. We need you back. That was nice to hear. And also that we will make it work. It will be a flexibility, and we will make it work. And that was very important for me to hear. Another thing that also helped was to have colleagues that they were happy to supervise temporarily my projects, take over my projects, without, stab me in the back while I was away. This was also maybe a factor of luck, a part of all the professional and scientific things that you have to do to get here, it was really that I have nice colleagues there and a nice boss. It should not be a question of luck, I think. It should be possible for everyone. So part of this vision, I think, is very important that we keep this parenting or parenthood problems or challenges in mind. So I'm quite happy that this is a topic where the faculty already quite active, and there's been this parent study that it was impulsed by FemChem, and they work really hard in doing this study, and now we have the parent workshop to discuss these topics and at least have them on top of the table, because I think they're really important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Noelia?
Yeah, I want to jump related to FemChem, because if I remember my first day, I studied a chemical engineer, and I remember my first day of study in a chemical engineering faculty. There were only engineers. You can imagine a room, introductory talk, a professor telling, I don't see so many women sitting here. Don't worry, half of you will drop, will not make it. And then others, you will face the time that you will need to choose your career or being a mom and have a family. Then I will not see you in leading positions. This is some years ago, was not here, was back in Spain. And even during my studies, I remember the laboratory of electronics, and coming the professor, and who did this circuit for you? Because we were just a couple, like another lady and me. We say, it's too good to be done by a woman. And the sad thing of this, that this is not an isolated happening. No, in STEM, this is common. And during my scientific career, I consider it that I was really lucky, because my PhD supervisor, my postdocs in France and Switzerland, they really encouraged me to fight. But they always told me, like a woman, to have the same chance like a man, you need to work 200%. You need to show double than them to have the same chances. And for this, when I arrived here, 2015, after 1 year, I really remember, I don't remember the month, but I remember being pregnant from my second daughter in a cafe here in Russell Park. It's not there anymore. Sitting, I think, was Bettina, Anne, I think Martina. And was the first time I was meeting also them, because I didn't know any more ladies in the faculty, and speaking about the formation of FemChem. And some months later, holding this workshop where the structure, the pillars, the working group were stable. And for me, it's really nice to see that, okay, what I was told, that you need to work 200%, is still not. This morning was, they say like, oh, now is gender, diversity, equality is already solved in the faculty. I'm not agree completely, but it's improving. And this is something that is, for me, it's really important. And like what I like it here at the faculty is like they were putting like the opportunity by the Konegger at this point, and then with Marco. But the most important thing that makes FemChem to work was like the networking, working together, putting all the women together. Like they are not isolated, speaking each other. This evolves to have even collaboration, not only in collaboration scientifically, but also to support each other. And now, even 2 years later, 2 years ago, I started the academy. That is not only for women, it's for the young academy people to help each other and work this faculty together for a better future. Yeah, this is my experience, and like the parent, I think is kind of an important point also.
Thank you. Hannes?
I can move on, yeah. I mean, related to the stories before, right? I mean, as Noelia said, this faculty, I would say our faculty, it's about the people, is what you said. People who, I don't know, helped us get here. I mean, I didn't come from abroad. I basically started here. And that's, you know, people who supported us, of course, I would usually at first always think about Hannes Pflügl. And actually, my intro statement is, let's say, a quote when he once told me there are people who find problems and people who solve problems. And you know, the problem at first was I'm a born Austrian, so there is nothing I can do better than complain. And so I thought, you know, don't complain about the stuff, really, you know, make sure or try hard and then do it. I mean, I should also add that there is, you know, it's not, you know, just the two sides. I mean, yeah, actually I want to mention this. Many people in the room still remember Gerhard Seebauer, who sadly passed away way too early, but he's probably the exception. He actually could do both. So if you entered his office and you said, Gerhard, I need this invoice to be paid, or can you please do this, or whatever, and then at first he would say, that's impossible. Then he continued for 3 minutes telling you, you know, reasons why this is not possible, and all you had to do is sit down and say, yep, yep, yep. And then all of a sudden he was like, oh yeah, I know how to do it. So he probably could do both. No, but I mean, getting back to the people who opened doors, I mean, this is, right, Hannes got me here, I did my studies here. I worked with Marco as a young student, with Peter, Gärtner, then finished my studies, and then PhD, so on and so forth, and then moved away. And when coming back, was when we switched from doing chemistry in vials and flasks to do chemistry inside cells. Actually stuff in the early days that Hannes funded with saved money. No one would have given us money to do that. And then I basically realized, yeah, if I want to come back and do this at TU Wien, then, I mean, actually we need cells. And at first, Marco, back then head of the institute, said, yeah, this is not going to happen. This is very unlikely that there will be cell culture here. And I mean, now just think about it. 3 months later, he called me and said, oh yeah, there's a new professor coming in, Peter Ertl, and there will be a cell culture lab. I mean, this is basically how I got back then, supported by my mentors, supporters, door openers, who made this possible. And I think this, you know, empowering people, getting bright minds from abroad, make sure that people get what they need so that they can grow, let's say, as scientists, I think this is really important and something that we should also focus on in the future.
Great.
Yeah, if I may continue here with what Hannes said, I think is very important about the empowering people, not only people from abroad, but of course people that are already studying here. So I think one of the big resources that we actually have, and this was mentioned in the morning, are our students, right? And so we have to make them fit and empower them to solve the problems that or the challenges, as we say, in the future. And I think this refers to teaching, that also we have to consider how we teach. Yeah? And sometimes well-established teaching methods, I think, are suitable, but we should stay open, I think. And one example I can give is from a recent lab course that we, in a team, Christian is also sitting here, he was also involved, that we had to refurbish, so to say. Yeah? It was the Chemical Technology of Inorganic Materials, a bachelor level mandatory lab course. And we were quite successful with this course in the past. So we've won several Prodidactica awards for best supervision and so forth. But over the past few years, we saw that this course does not reflect the learning objectives that we actually want to convey to the students, due to topics needing overhauling, due to external factors such as AI-based large language models, which rendered some of our examination techniques senseless, so to say. So we sat together, and this was a process which took, I think, a year, 2 years, and thought, how could we restructure our lab course, and how could we go away from the lecturer-oriented teaching more towards student-oriented teaching, using the techniques that are already there. So we did not have to reinvent the wheel. Yeah? TU Wien offers many tools, many of which all of you use, like Pflügl, for example, yeah? And there's really something to gain from this, and we implemented this last year, and apparently the students were quite happy with this. Yeah, we involved some feedback rounds as well to get feedback from the students in order to, of course, change things that did not work out the way we intended them to. But overall, I think we were quite successful, and we were very happy when we got the Prodidactica Award this year for Best Lab Course and Most Improved Lab Course. So I think we don't need to reinvent the wheel when we look into the future, but we should question ourselves whether there may be new possibilities that we do not consider. Yeah? And I think that's something I take away from the vision that we heard about empowering people, and I think that's something that all of us can do.
Very nice. Perhaps Elisa, do you want to chip in?
Sure. Is it on? Yes, okay. Yeah. I'd like to speak on the personal and social aspects of studying at the TU. When I came to TU Vienna, I had to decide between Uni Wien and TU. And the reason I came here was because the social aspects of the university were so widely known. Coming here, I was very overwhelmed as a young student and didn't know left from right, basically what to do. And then coming into the first day at Radinger Hörsaal, sitting there and being bombarded with information, I could finally settle and think of what the future at the university might look like. The most prominent memory I have of coming to study at the university was the tutorium that we do on the first day, which is organized by the student representatives. And after sitting through painfully funny skits of students introducing themselves, such as, for example, driving imaginary Mario Kart cars, I felt accepted and at home. And being divided into groups basically forced us to get to know our peers and get to know a wide variety of people, which I think, especially for studying at the TU, it can be very difficult, it can be very challenging. So having a peer group and having people that you can rely on is very important. After spending time with student representatives for a while, I realized how much influence students can have on shaping the university itself. So my logical next step was to become a student representative. And after being voted into office, I felt overwhelmed with gratitude and a sense of responsibility. So I went to work and started incorporating myself in different committees and trying to see how I could forge the path for students to come. Yeah, so I think being a student representative, I've realized, and I'm very grateful that I can build a bridge between faculty and students and become the future of the university and be able to show students that you don't just study here, but you also grow as a person and can build your personality, become an independent and strong student. So, yeah.
Very nice. Let me tell you, you are building the bridges between the students and the faculty. That is working out really well. We have a very, very good relationship between faculty, staff members, and students. That is actually quite exceptional, I would say.
Yes.
That's awesome. Alexander, how about you?
Building bridges, I think, is a nice word, which is kindly also a word which I first saw in our endeavor, so which is maybe one of the latest ones, but was kind of the most important for me because it really helped me in my way to become the scientist I currently am, which dates back to a time when I headed an external module in the CD lab. It started almost exactly 10 years ago, and there in the beginning we really faced the problem that we had two completely different working groups that had to work together. So imagine a completely crazy lab scientist doing basic science, so that was me at this time. And on the other side, imagine a smart engineer that were the colleagues from Research Center Jülich. So they had to process the cells, and we did trying to understand the material. So that was the setting. And it was really frustrating that we could not talk with each other, because even though we were in the same community, it appears that they used completely different words for saying maybe the same things, but yeah, it really blocked us from talking to each other. So when we talk about chemical capacitance and incorporation resistance, diffusion resistance, whatever, they always look like me, like you look now to me, and then they use completely different words which made me look like they looked to me. And in the end, it took us about a year. We had to find the same language. And then there was essentially a certain point where I really realized, yeah, now we got it. They now really understand what we mean. So we had really to transform our way of thinking about the whole system. They had to transform the way of thinking about the whole system. And in the end, what really came out is that we were really able to improve the cell we were working with by almost a factor of 10, but just by coming together and talking the same language. So this was so super helpful for me, that building the bridge to the other disciplines, so to say, I really faced first as a huge problem, and in the end as a big help to do science. So I think that's really also an important thing in our faculty, that we are able to build bridges to other disciplines. And maybe in the morning we heard it by Johannes Pflügl already. There were former kingdoms, and every king had his own institute. And for what do you have a king? To fight wars, right? So I think in the past there were quite some enemies in the faculty. Yeah, there were shaking heads already. Yeah. But I think in our generation, as we sit here, it's much less the case, or even I do not experience it. So I think there's really a chance that we now try to build bridges to other disciplines, and I think this can bring us a big step forward.
That is absolutely true. I also feel that when we teach students, they have to understand, or they have to learn to get accommodated to the way how university works, and that it's not like in school anymore. Someone explains it to you and you understand it, and so someone explains it to you and you don't understand it, and that's not the end of the story. Someone in the future will explain it again, and you may still not understand it, and you will be explained it again, and suddenly you're getting used to it. And this is also it's a very special form of understanding, just getting used to the new stuff. And that is also a bridge that slowly has to be built between the teachers and the students. Who wants to add something? Sure.
If it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to hoard the microphone, but I think I would have to say something to what Alex said about building bridges. And you mentioned it with external partners, right? But I think we need to start building bridges also internally. We have so many resources in our faculty. I mean, I'm not now talking about students, but other scientists, right? And communication and openness, I think, is very important. And I have a very good example for this. I'm involved in a doctoral college called CO2 Refinery. Michael Harasek is in the back. He's our leader, and actually Stefan is also part of this doctoral college. And there's involved people from all 4 institutes of our faculty, also people from electrical engineering, from mechanical engineering. And for me, this was really an eye-opener when I got there and got to see the different types of thinking that are not only present to external partners from electrical engineering, but when we talk to process engineers, for example, this is a a very specific way of thinking, and I think that's important for us to also understand this, to get most out of it. And I mean, the topic in our doctoral college is the utilization of CO2, so that also fits in with another endeavor that Marco showed before, right? Looking forward to a sustainable future, even though sustainability means something different in China, as we've heard today, but thinking about the sustainable environment. And to come back to the openness, I think we can all contribute from this, and throughout this doctoral college, which will be finished by next year, and which was funded by TU Wien and also partly by the faculty, which we're very thankful for. We managed to generate publications spanning all 4 institutes. Yeah, just myself, I published with people who have never published before, and I think that's a very big win and gives new ideas for the future that we have to consider. And I hope that in the future we will also get the chance for doctoral colleges like this, which helps a lot with internal communication as well.
Wonderful. Stefan.
I maybe want to follow up on this because, as Thomas said, I was also involved in I am still involved in the CO2 refinery, and there's one example I want to share. Because I'm a biotechnologist, so no chemist, but still it was a really nice environment to also integrate this into the faculty, into the institute. So I'm working on utilization of CO2 by means of fermentation, and in this case it's a gas fermentation process which runs basically like a regular fermentation where you have sugar for making beer or wine in the end, but instead we are using CO2 or also synthesis gas, and in this case it was a really nice collaboration project with Stefan, who is also here in the audience and involved in the CO2 refinery, where we combined the syngas fermentation process with the biomass gasification, and this is a really nice also interdisciplinary approach, I think, where we could go from chemical engineering to fermentation technology all the way to strain engineering, so molecular biology, to create a biocatalyst that is able to turn syngas into bioplastics. And it was really nice to see when this came to life in the end in the Technicum, where we hooked up the big biomass gasification plant with our pilot scale fermentation process, and in this case building the bridge was a 20-meter long tube transporting the syngas to the fermenter, and like 15 people involved working for 30 hours straight to make this work actually, and this was really nice to see that so many people working together towards this goal. And it's also very much coming back to the CO2 refinery, in line with what we had in mind in the beginning when we wrote the proposal to educate one-carbon engineers which can think and cooperate across disciplines and really bring process change to life, and also transport this then after they are graduating outside of TU Wien.
Do we have any ideas about how we can get our message across to the society? Is there any take on how we can communicate better to the society? Anybody has got any ideas?
Well, maybe not directly for society, but the first step I think which we need to take is to really generate trust. Trust between us. I think there is already a big portion of trust already, but I think that's something that fits to every endeavor, and it should be the basis of all this vision process. We have to trust each other, and then we need to generate trust in the society. I have no clue how we can really make this, but I think communicating clearly and showing that also we trust others maybe is the basis. So for me, I really, being trusted was really a big step also for me in my career. When I think Jürgen Pflügl had to leave because I do not see him yet anymore. He was a little bit sick in the morning, but he was really one of the people, one of my mentor who really trusted me in the past quite a lot. So when we were in the SFB headed by Günther, Foxy, maybe you remember it, then there were some discussions, we were in having retreats in Burg Schleining, and there were people sitting together from different fields, and we came up with the idea, well, we should go to the synchrotron. And up to this time, we were just pure electrochemists, okay? We were just doing solid-state ionics, electrochemistry, and Jürgen, he was not really convinced. He said, wow, that's really a big step. I'm not really convinced that you should do it. And we said, wow, what can we lose? And he really trusted us. He said, okay, just try it. We'll see what happens. So it was really, he just trusted us. You do what you like to do. And in the end, what came out was really a big bunch of, I think it was quite nice papers that also brought us to the next level. So we can do in situ analytics on our systems. And I think also this type of trusting people in advance really is a thing that also could help us to bring it to society, showing that we trust society and society can trust us.
Well, it's a very good statement. This decade will not really be known as the decade of trust in science. If I look back, and even if I look into the future, but we're not there yet. That's the point. So we have to get going and get started. Sure, go ahead.
I think also a way to reach the outside of the technical university has already been put into motion, especially with the new social media task force. I think in our day and age, we should not shy away from social media and presenting ourselves to the world, especially reaching young, innovative people. The perfect way to do that is by utilizing social media. So I think with our Instagram page for the faculty, we already are doing a lot. And I think it's just about growing that viewership and growing also the trust in the technical university by showing what we do and by being transparent and inviting people into our world.
Absolutely, and showing the fun and the joy that our work brings with it. We're not getting rich here at the university. That's not a driver, but it's a dream job. I mean, what else could you imagine than following the tasks that you have just set yourself? And if you don't like it anymore, you just change your tasks. And teaching students, teaching young, hyper-intelligent people who share your passions. Is there anything better? I can't think of anything that would be a better profession for me.
Does that work? Yeah, I just wanted to add, may I remember that the next time Marco wants me to do something that I will just say, here I am, I'm going to change my tasks.
Might not always work this way. Would be a very individual vision for yourself.
Like you say, like in the faculty we will not get rich, and this is exactly what my PhD supervisor told me. Because, like I said, I am a chemical engineer. From my promotion, I think we were just 3 to stay in doing the PhD. And I remember meeting my colleagues. No, when I started my PhD, even if I didn't have a salary, it was just a scholarship. They had new cars, expensive restaurants, and I was a PhD student living in a vacant sharing apartment and being, yeah. And it's nice, and it's really nice, but it's not easy. And this is also something maybe to say, no, like you are here because you really like, and you do science because you have a passion on it. I passed 3 countries, and in Switzerland I was a senior postdoc. But the lady that was charging me my food in the supermarket every day was earning more than me, actually. And I was in Geneva, I was living in France, to be a foreign apartment and crossing the border every day to go to work. And I was a senior postdoc, imagine it, no? Then, and like you need to put in balance, and this is what you say, no? You are here because you really like, and you put everything on this, and like Mikula said at the beginning, but life continues, then you are not alone in life, and then also another priorities on family, and you need to balance balance what is family and this. I got, when I was in Switzerland, I could not stay there because I was postdoc there, then this closed all your possibilities to get a professorship there. And my boss was like, I would really like to keep you, but if you are already here for 3 years, you can just get the senior scientist, then you need, to get a full professor, you need to jump. And then after 1 year of my grant, I needed to start to look also. And I got 2 offers to go to the States. Actually, in a nice places was when New York, Columbia, and Purdue. But I had a baby of 1 year. And then I was like, how I can manage to be with my girl, no? And yeah, I would be really nice. And then I got in the process for a tenure track in Utrecht, in an institute. But at this time I got a call to come to Vienna because Professor Karin Fottinger needed someone for the currents to take care of the group. And I remember I really didn't want to go to Netherlands, but you know, this here was kind of 1 year contract and there was a tenure. And when I got the email, I got second in this tenure track. I got so happy. Like, I'm going. Why? Because this was also pointed out this morning. I was here before like a Marie Curie postdoc, and I love this city. And it's a city where we have the resources, we have a really nice university, we can work good, and we have a really good life if you want a family. Then science career is not easy, you don't get rich, you learn how to survive, but at least you do what you really love every day of your life. And this is actually my experience.
I totally agree. In my current state of eternal happiness, I tend to forget all the hardship that every one of us went through, and I can absolutely feel what you said. And I had similar experiences. My first postdoc in Munich at LMU Munich, I was there as an Erwin Schrödinger fellow, and I think my monthly salary was €100 more than my regular TU Wien salary, but I had expenses of close to €1,000 more because just getting a small apartment in Munich was incredibly expensive, and so I was bleeding out money over this whole year. And I remember that at some points before I actually got my next salary, I had absolutely nothing to eat left, and the only thing that was still in the kitchen was a packet of sugar, and so I was eating 2 spoonsful of sugar as dinner. Perhaps this is the reason why I'm so happy that this time is over. But we must not forget that most of us actually go through some point of hardship, and possibly even, especially the students right now. I think most of our students actually have to work to make a living, and not make a living to just survive. I think that grasps it in a better way than making a living, but to just keep going until they finally reach the shore before drowning, hopefully. So Studierbarkeit, there is no good translation for this, is and will become an increasing topic definitely in the future, because many students simply cannot afford to just live on savings for 5 years, 6 years, 7 or 8 years. So that is not possible, and family support is limited for many.
I cannot agree more on that. I think it's a beautiful career. It's hard, but we should not make it harder, right? Actually, we should make it possible for a lot of people. Just continuing in this kind of complaining, because I think it's the cultural right thing to do. It's not only that the career is hard, I mean also the science is hard, and it's very important that we transmit to our students the passion about it. Because just last week we were in the synchrotron, we mentioned, I mean many of you know it, And we had to, of course, make the most of our 6 or 7 days of beam time there. And we also have experiments that are under flammable gases, so we have to be there 24/7, make shifts, be there in the night measuring. And we brought some students, some of them are here. And it's not only that you are in the night shift, you are also doing a work of precision. You know, a lot of experiments are really hard. It's very easy to just like send the experiment down to the rubbish bin, and then you have to start again, and you have to transmit this also accuracy to the students. The experiment has to be measured right. You have to start again, and that they have the resilience and the motivation to do that is because they already have some passion for the science, or a lot of passion, and this is something we have to nurture because it's part of our job, and you do it because then, I don't know, it makes us happy to get the results. Sometimes you even don't prove your own hypothesis, and it turns out that your hypothesis was wrong, and you have to make a new hypothesis, but at the end of the road, you make an impact, or you have a publication. It's not so much about the impact factor of the journal where you publish, but I think to impact your scientific community and to contribute and put a little brick on this huge building that we are all hopefully constructing together. So yeah, the students are important. They're the future researchers, and we have to make this path also for them possible, and livable.
I agree. This is, perhaps I should not have shifted into hardship too much, because let's get it into a positive spin again, that this work can be so immensely rewarding. And I'm not talking about a publication, high impact factor publication, but what I call it, when I'm struggling with a topic in my research, and I don't really, the data are coming in and they make absolutely no sense, and there is nothing that I can really do to make any sense of it, and then suddenly I have something that I call a divine moment. It is almost like a spiritual thing that suddenly you shift your thought and suddenly it all makes sense. I've had this only, I would say, 4, perhaps 5 times in my life. It's not a long process. It's actually from one minute to another that you think about it, and then, why didn't I think about this before? Has anybody of you guys had a similar thing? Alex, you're nodding.
I do not remember a specific one, but I really can imagine the feeling you have. You add a little. It's like you add a puzzle piece, and then the whole picture changes, and now the picture makes sense.
Yeah.
But by just adding, I don't know, one variable to an equation or things like that. Yeah.
So this is the thing that I absolutely love in research. When it's easy, then it's easy. Then it doesn't mean anything. But when you're struggling, then suddenly it becomes very rewarding.
Well, another privilege which we just discussed in the coffee break, I think. We already discussed about students, and I think one privilege we really have is working with students, because you never feel old. Is this something? No, really. Well, I just last week I recognized that my son, who is 12, now starts using the same vocabulary than my PhD students do. But I think you really have to re-question yourself, right? You always have to talk with younger people. They're getting younger and younger and younger, relative to yourself. But still, I never feel old with them. It's really
and it's not just about feeling old. You stay younger. I think that is a scientific fact. If I look at my classmates from high school, they have aged tremendously. But I have remained. The students have kept me young. I promise. That's how it goes. Well, Everybody had a similar experience, I guess. Elisa, you have anything to want to add?
Not to that specifically, but I'm glad we're keeping you young. You're welcome, I guess.
I hope we're not making you old in return. So I have aged during my studies terribly.
No, I want to touch on a different subject, which is a very positive thing in my career, I guess, as a student representative, is that the faculty and the university is changing in a very positive sense. So if we look at the history, I mean, our first female professor we had in, I think, 2017, which is quite late. But if I see the progress that we've made since then, and especially now that the awareness of the subject is there, and I very much appreciate, and I think it's beautiful that the faculty is working in such a positive direction in this topic. So employing more female professors, making studying accessible and making it more inclusive, also in different lectures, incorporating female role models rather than only male role models. I see a change in the university, and I really hope that it continues, and I'm very thankful that it is going in that direction.
Wonderful. I think that's... I cannot think of any better sentence to end this panel discussion with. And so let's thank our panelists.